Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. But today we're going to talk about, of course, the upcoming budget that is going to be unveiled tomorrow, the budget 2021-2022. Finance Minister Shaukat also unveiled the Pakistan Economic Survey 2020-2021 today, in which she detailed the different facets of Pakistan's economy, what worked, what did not during the past fiscal year. And then this is going to be our the first topic of discussion, because of course economy is something that we all are looking up to. How is it going to change in the next budget? What has happened? What were the parameters of our economy and our economic revival in the last 12 months? What is going to happen? What is the government trying to do or wanting to do to further uplift the economic situation of Pakistan in the next budget? We will be talking about that. In the second segment of today's show, we will be talking about Islamophobia, the impact that it has had the world over, especially when it comes to the minority, especially when it comes to the Islamic community, the Muslim community across the globe, with the specific reference to what has happened in Ontario, in Canada, in which a whole family was slain by a 20-year-old, by a very young boy, in fact, who was filled with rage against the Islamic community. Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi also said that the world needs to be on one pace, on one stand when it comes to Islamophobia and tackling Islamophobia. Let's begin with our first segment, ladies and gentlemen, that concerns tomorrow's upcoming budget as well as today's Pakistan Economic Survey. What has happened in the last 12 months? What should we expect from the government in the next 12 months? More in the following report.
The pandemic-induced global recession had crippled not only world economy but also impaired domestic economic landscape. As the government plans to unveil federal budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, both the salaried strata and wage earners are holding enormous expectations. The government is already vigilant to craft the upcoming federal budget by keeping third wave of coronavirus in view. Owing to tough austerity measures and tight fiscal controls, public is awaiting substantial improvement in macroeconomic picture of the country. Ironically, the average man also dreads government's resolve to finalize the budgetary targets in consultation with the International Monetary Fund. Though there is much fanfare regarding colossal achievements on the macroeconomic front, an average man expects to prompt trickle down of perquisites of streamlined economy. The public is mainly cognizant of this reality that skyrocketing inflation is now global phenomena in post-pandemic world, but they seek prime focus of upcoming budget on reduction of inflation. Amid the uncertainty wed by pandemic, the masses expect government to introduce price stability by building strategic reserves for essential commodities and interest-free loans to farmers. Since the economic turmoil has taken toll of every segment of society, the public is already wary government's intentions to impose additional taxes. Moreover, there is massive public consensus that the purported relief plans and social safety nets must have clear revenue plans in the impending budget. Experts and analysts are expecting special packages for marginalized and neglected areas such as Balochistan, Gilgit-Baltistan and Karachi. The public expects forthcoming budget to be people-oriented and sustainable development centric by ensuring growth for every segment of the society.
Now to talk more about the expectations from the budget 2021-2022, what happened during the speech of Shaukat Sahab when he unveiled the Pakistan Economic Survey 2020-2021. We've been joined by renowned economist Abdul Jaleel in the studio. Jaleel Sahab, thank you very much to have joined us. Jaleel Sahab, when it comes to the last 12 months and Pakistan's economy, what were the highs and the lows?
You know, when we look into these indicators, now they appears to be quite hopeful. As far as investment is concerned, it is also picking up. As far as the growth of national economy is concerned, GDP is also picking up, and probably it is close to 4.5, right? And manufacturing sector too have experienced some uplifting growth. And then agriculture sector is concerned, that is still slow, and it could not compete internationally. But to say compete, it could not compete with the other sector of the
Before we go
economy.
in detail about which indicators have gone in the positive for Pakistan, what did not, what went in the negative. We've also been joined in the studios, in fact, online by Hasnain Javed Sahab, who's a renowned economist. Hasnain Javed, thank you very much to have joined us. And of course, we will continue our discussion as far as today's economic survey 2020-2021 and tomorrow's budget that is going to be unveiled by Shaukat Tareen Sahab as well. We welcome you to this very important discussion on Pakistan's economy, its economic situation in the last 12 months, and what is going to happen in the next 12 months. I was talking to Abdul Jaleel Saab, and I was asking him which were the indicators that ended on a positive note for Pakistan in the fiscal year 2020-2021, and what did not work for Pakistan on the economic front. What's your take on that?
If we, closely watch the roadmap or strategic roadmap, that clearly shows that Pakistan is on the structural design. Now, it is very different that we are, previously we were on a very, fictitious numbers. We were on 5.5, but that was not the real number. Now, the balloon blown out, and that was, the different case. Now, scenario is very much different, and that is very pragmatic and rational in a way that now the rational number is 3.94 as of the GDP. If I talk about the inflation, this government haven't said that we will get down by 2% or 3%. We will be on 8% or 7% from where we were on 18%. Now, if I talk about the budget deficit and the public debt or export or import, the recent time we have seen that the Shaukat Tareen have clearly stated that the upcoming time will be of the exports, and we have seen the agriculture growth, and the next year is dedicatedly for the growth of the agriculture mechanism, and we have a close ally with the CPAC. And under the CPAC, we will focus on the 9 economic zone, which is about 9 economic zone, and the agriculture economic stability and agriculture mechanization is the top priority of the Pakistani growth. As far as if I talk about the overall magnitude, which was about, if I talk on the basis, if I talk about the infrastructure, which was 509 billion. And then it is 509 billion of, and then the 23 crores. And then if I talk about the power sector, which is 103. And here is the real problem in the power sector. We are producing the energy much, but we are deploying where the supplying, and the deployment of the IPPs and the result of the past two governments. We have now seen that there was so many worse glitches over there, and now they are picking up to these sectors. Now, if I talk about...
I'd like to continue this discussion with my guests in the studio as well. Kindly stay online. Abdul Jaleel Saab, Hasnain Javed Saab talks about the budget deficit, the public debt, the agricultural sector. You said it hasn't really picked up as it should have, but Hasnain Saab kind of differs with you. He said it has kind of picked up. He talks of agricultural mechanization and the power sector that has, in his point of view, not really gained the strength that it had to. What, in your point of view, has happened in the last 12 months as far as the agricultural sector? Let's focus on the agricultural sector, because of course we are an agricultural based economy, and most of our economy is of course dependent on that as well. And now that we are more leaning towards an export based economy rather than an import based economy, what needs to be done and what has been done in fact in the last 12 months?
Omar sahab, first we will have to try to analyze the very structure of the agricultural system, or you can call it the agriculture sector of Pakistani society. Basically, agriculture sector now is totally dependent upon the irrigation system. It's very, as far as this area is concerned, northern area, it lives on the rainy water as well. So that means that it depends upon the windfall. Again, if there is a heavy rain, we are likely to experience a heavy growth. If there is no rain, naturally the drought will affect the growth of the agriculture produce. But as far as this irrigated area is concerned, of Punjab, Central Punjab and Sindh is concerned, they are experiencing although they have experienced some growth in it, but there are certain challenges which the government have not met so far, right? Initially, if you go back to 2003, the government of Pakistan then promised a drastic reform within the agriculture sector. For example, they said that all middle class farmer and the lower middle class farmer, they will be provided certain treatment under concessional regime.
All right.
For example, the availability of the seed and high quality seed, and it will be monitored from time to time. That has not happened. Number two, electricity will be provided to them on a concessional rate, and this is being done in East Punjab. This experiment is already available with great success. East Punjab is capacity of the production is area wise. If you see the area wise, it is much smaller as compared to the area what we have got in the West Punjab.
Right.
But the question is that again, our mechanized, the revolution of mechanized farming could not be introduced. We could not provide accessibility to our farmers, small and the medium, and to the world market. What to say, world market, even to the domestic market. The middleman role is very strong, and you all know that the middleman will charge a huge interest or huge profit over the produce, right? And because of this reason, the financial interest of the farmer community, that would not be looked after, because they are totally dependent upon the agent for their income. So they normally, the middleman, they exploit, they have gotten every reason to exploit their labors as well. Number four, accessibility, rationalization of the loan. This is very important. There are certain bottlenecks in the loan advancement schemes. The government has to remove those bottlenecks. And how can they do it? In this respect, I tell you, the certain institutional difficulties are resolved. For example, our farmer, whether it's a small farmer or a middle class farmer, the problem is that they don't have the accessibility to these big institutions which have been created for their service, right? It is the job of the bureaucracy to take initiative and to provide the service at their doorstep. But again, that agriculture department is there, agriculture machinery department is there, but what is missing is, you can say, the local bodies government. They are supposed to take action in this respect.
All right, Hasnain Javed Saab, when it comes to, of course, the rationalization of loans to the farmers community, and of course us being an agricultural country, how much do you feel now that we are, as I've also asked Jaleel Saab, we are relying on an export-based economy rather than an import-based economy? What more needs to be done as incentives to the farmers community in the next budget, in your point of view? What will happen and what should happen?
Okay, first of all, I'm not answering to the last conversation, but I just wanted to add on few things. That
all right.
The most important things are that this government is up to the cartelization. They are against the cartelization, and we should appreciate this government for the destruction and dismantling of the cartelization. One. So you have seen that we have marked good number in the cultivation of the wheat and the rice, and we have seen that on time we have giving the supply lines to the sugar. So here we have the 94 powerful cartels here in Pakistan, and then after getting up to this, and they are attached the alternative fuel energy, but they are not getting anything to the people, and they are not into the tax net as well. So of course I am agree to this point that yes, the middleman is the real problem, and still the middleman is the real problem. But this government have done so well in the way that they have now, against the middleman people. So middleman or cartelization, and we should appreciate in that way. So here, if I talk about that, what we have done with the crops, like we need a cotton. The power sector, the textile sector was on 5.5 of the ratio. They grew up on 5.5. Right after that, the government have given the 30 billion of the subsidy to the textile sector, but they cannot continue for long. so as the Shaukat Tareen Sahab have clearly said that we have to work on our agriculture, that it is just on 2.7, but we cannot say that. I mean, in the last government it was around just 1.2, and they were not being able to understand the agriculture or agriculture mechanization. I have to add on this the new point that they have developed in the 7 cities the new seed formation or the training programs on seed. The farmer used the 10-year-old seeds all together in the different beats, but this time around, after the awareness, after synchronization of the cultivation process, they have given the new seeds. They have now awared agriculturists, and now the results are very much fine in wheat, in rice, in other commodity. Now the 6 crops are too much in good performance, like 2.7 in each sector. It is very much into the good point. Now, if I talk about the other NFC award or other than the provincial sector, yes, obviously administrative glitches are still there. Shaukat Tareen Sahab or the Prime Minister Imran Khan have marked that much that in agriculture sector there are wonders of wonders. I mean, you cannot even imagine miraculous. I mean, mafias are there. We cannot work for them, and now this government is against this mafia, and destruction process takes the time. Or of course, this budget is. I mean, let me precisely tell you, this budget is first to refreeze the system. Because if we do not refreeze the system under the Levine process, we cannot freeze it to the system, and then we cannot structure it. We are the unstructured
I'll
process
continue
completely.
with you a bit later, Hasnain Saab, but Abdul Jaleel Saab, refreezing of our current economic structure, how can the government go about doing that? In the whole scenario of also its deal, its contract with the IMF and all the preconditions that the IMF has put forward.
Omar sir, in this now you are talking about the mega framework of the economy, you know, and of course the micromanagement of economy and its success depends upon that how the mega economy factor they interact and act among themselves. And in this respect, the following factors which I'm going to go, they are very important and they must reconcile.
Okay.
Number one is your investment policy. Number two, monetary policy, your loan giving policy. Number three, taxation policy, right? And number four, your public finance policy, right? And they are the pillar of the national economy. They must reconcile themselves. The setback which has occurred to this government initially 2 years is because of the irreconcilability between these various pillars of the national economy.
Okay.
The taxation policy was not in line to promote investment in line with the, with those objectives which were being pursued under investment policy. Likewise, the high interest rate on the banking loan have caused a lot of disruption in field of investment as well. Overnight, with the raise of the interest rate, overnight the financial liability of the industrial sector, they grew up and they skyrocketed, and the prices of the goods went up, and which triggered inflation in the country, right? And then export, all these fundamental of economy which I am counting, they must make sure that the quality of the goods and services improve and they are accepted in the international market. And that is the only guarantee for raising export in our country, which is one of the highest objective of our economy. Export-oriented economy can only bring prosperity to the country.
True.
As long as if you continue to depend upon your heavy imports and less export, and this accounting deficit will definitely bring about a huge inflation in the country. And inflation definitely, as we are experiencing, and joblessness is also increasing in this factory. Thanks God that the COVID, which has caused a lot of nuisance and caused a huge disruption in the economy, and in certain developed economy are facing the phenomena of recession. And India is one of another example whose economy have suffered from severe setback and its growth rate as well under this widespread epidemics. Pakistan, to a larger extent, I will say, by the grace of God or by grace of Allah, we have been saved from its lethal effect. Right, and we were able to control the negative impact of this epidemic to a larger extent. And secondly, our system of economy did not face any disruption. It went on with the normal paces, although it could not pick up the fast paces, which it has done.
Yeah,
right
at least
now.
it's not gone as
Right
bad
now.
as it was expected because of COVID.
Then Omar Sahib, you have to see in the present scenario, your regional commercial alliances, trade alliances, commercial, industrial alliances, economic alliances, regional alliances, they play a very key role in the country. Whatever you produce, certainly, you will get a huge benefit if you are able to export those goods in your neighborhood as well. And you got to see that and you got to study those markets. What are their requirements? For example, the Chinese market is a very big market, right? And now it's a number one, almost a number one economy in the world as far as their industrial, computers, electronic goods are concerned. But the Chinese economy, the Chinese population is growing very fast, and they need, every year they import huge amount of food in their country, and they spend a lot of foreign exchange on their imported food items. The Chinese have suggested to the government of Pakistan time and again that if you try to improve your agricultural policy, and if you could give us a better food item, then definitely it would be far easier for us to import these food items from Pakistan should exploit this.
All right. Hasnain, Javed sahab, macroeconomic management, microeconomic management, our public policy, our debt policy, how much can we improve on that, keeping in view the economic requirements of our neighboring countries that of course we export our items to?
See, first of all, we have seen that there is a, term trickle-down effect. From the previous government, we have, this is irritating word, continuous irritation. A word is trickle-down effect. When it comes to the trickle-down effect, when it is not the bottom-up effect. First, we need to understand that we come out of the fictitious economy. Now, this is the pragmatic economy and the structured economy. Now, where the structural economy is there, the money laundering or the money put in by the borrowed money or the lending money comes out in a different way. So you can see that the IMF is very much, restricted from us. They claim that they claim in different papers that we will, grew up. We will maybe our growth will be on 1.2. Asian development was a bit very optimistic about us. And other centers, and State Bank was also calculated by 2.9. But when the leakage has been or the bottlenecking or the upgradation of the transmission in a different ways, now we have seen the result that our debt are in surplus, right? So federal budget is estimated in a different structural element. Now, for example, sector-wise budget, if we can see, like in large scale manufacturing, we were on 9.2. We have seen the third wave of COVID. Whole of the world is the victim of the, lethal COVID virus, coronavirus. We have created so many innovative things. Still, we oxygenation process, our health issues, our educational issues. Even I appreciate the Pakistan and the Pakistani people that this was a trauma. But students somehow, managing the change, or they don't resist to the change. And this is wonderful thing that we come up on the online classes. We have not, clearly, finishing up the whole process. But somehow we have managed the pandemic. And this is how the country's strength come up. Now, the very important thing is the fictitious areas are the most important is the surplus area. Second is the fictitious area is, we presume we try to preserve the dollar in a upwarding way, which is very much, depress the whole market and depressing the whole export market. Now, this point, you remember that the Razak Daud came in power with the 5 ministries, and first, as of the Ministry of Industry and the Ministry of Commerce, he said that our new target will be export, export, and export. Now, when we develop the industrialization and industrialization in a bigger structure, as we can see, our automobile structure is very good. Our tractor manufacturing is pretty well. Our large manufacturing in pharmaceutical area is pretty fine. So we have never seen such growth in the previous era. Now, but finding out the reason, yes, we are a little bit weak in the small medium enterprise and then the small enterprise, and the borrowing structure and the banking structure was completely neglected. We just developed, and we just have the commercial banks have given just the 33% of the total, and out of I mean, if we minus out the other things, that it is just about the 16%, where the Bangladesh, where the Indonesia, with the other countries, we can see that the banking to the lower commodities or the normal people, they goes up to like 80%, 70%, 60%, and we are on 33%. In actually, it is 16%. So commercial bank have not done so well for the people. So again, some sort of we can see that there is cartelization in banking sector too. Now, very much important point I have to raise, Omar Saab, on your show, that we need to work on the privatization. Triple P's will work. Triple P's. Public-private partnership. Public-private partnership is much important. That billion of the billion, I'm just giving you the example. One of the under the Ministry of Industry, there is one prominent institute is PETAC. It is completely pressure on the government, and they are giving the subsidy even. And we have to pay, government have to pay a 40 crore per annum, and the additional pensions and surplus accounts and the different deficit accounts, they have to pay. So this is just one example. There are many other PIA and other big sectors. Most of the people knows, but they haven't know that. I mean, there are many subsidiary departments that have to be clear out. They must have to be privatized. They are not generating for Pakistan. It is a big pressure for Pakistan. Why
I'll ask the same question to Abdul Jaleel Saab. How important is privatization in order to further stabilize our economy? Yes. And how important is public-private partnership? I know we are having public-private partnership in many of the sectors, but what about the sick units of Pakistan? How should we heal those sick units? And what's your recommendation?
Well, Mr. I would say this is a very important question, and this is causing this public sector state. Public sector organization are the business corporation like steel mill, PIA, and there are many more in field of manufacturing sector. They are causing a huge drain of resources from our national economy, right? And and they are living on this huge subsidy of the government. For example, PIA, the government have to give every year $1 billion to this organization to sustain its normal working. Similarly, steel mill is concerned. Steel mill is basically a business corporation, and huge investment has been made, and government has invested huge amount on development of its infrastructure, but unfortunately it has not responded well.
But as far as the steel industry is concerned, don't you feel that countries such as Russia maybe could work together with Pakistan?
This is what I have said. The government the national income is going down because there are other reasons as well, but this is one of the most important reasons, that the government commercial institution like PIA, like steel mill, they have become constant liability. They live parasitically on the resources of the federal government, and instead of earning money and giving it to the federal government, right? And railway is another example. It's the railway is it's the eternally sick institution. The government every year spends, they try to support their infrastructure with huge subsidy, but nothing is coming out of it. But its solution is not giving more subsidy to it. Its solution is that how can you improve the governance structure of the railway organization or PIA, or for that matter, you have to bring about the reform, its administrative, management and the financial system by bringing good people of the capacity who could work who could work and deliver goods to you. This is not happening. They are overstaffed organization, and most of the jobs have been they have been given to the people by way of by the politicians. Mainly the politicians are responsible. Number one. And number two, the question is, there is another very important question which we need to understand. It's a very subtle one. For example, all our institutions, whether it's a civilian, public sector institution or a government institution, the government have to see whether those people, functionaries who are working there, do they have capacity to deliver goods according to market needs or not. If not, then some kind of a policy should be adopted. Unfortunately, our human resource policy is completely silent. There is no way of monitoring the performance.
But in all of that, how much is the public-private partnership important as well? Whether it be capacity building measures for the small and medium enterprises?
This is very important. I will say that normally it is this is a buzzword in the modern society that the least government is the best government. The government or the bureaucracy, they are just regulators. They have to keep supervisory eye on the performance of the organization. They have to monitor it, but they have to support the organization as a main stakeholder by providing resources, by simplifying the procedures, norms of the working, and promoting relationship with the main stakeholder, which is the government of Pakistan. Now there is a lot of gap between the public and the private sector, and their cordial working, unfortunately, that is not there. That is right. There is, and this gap is mainly exists because of the obsolete norm of working, the obsolete regulatory framework, which have been developed somewhere in 80s or in 60s, and they are still working. And in this respect, a lot of responsibility, it falls upon the shoulder of the politician, who have to simplify the procedure, who have to bring about the new regulatory framework in order to bring revolution.
That's a very interesting point that you've raised, Hasnain. Javed Saab, when we talk of regulatory framework, whether it be in the context of the macroeconomic or microeconomic management, macro and microeconomic management of our country in the past few years, or whether it be the way we have dealt with important organizations as far as IMF or others are concerned, what are the lacunas and how should the government work around in order to bring about a kind of change that would benefit all the industries, small, medium and large industries of Pakistan?
So one of the major issue, I just wanted to submit my very humble, add on to this point in public-private partnership, that how much they have defected Pakistan. Initially, I was much of having the nationalized approach. Then I come up to the new liberalization approach. Then I'd come to the new developmental approach. So what I come to the point that stability is much needed. If we will not continue to the stability point or the economic stability, we will definitely go into very deep waters, and we will go into a very deep, hot economic waters. But what we need to understand is that the entrepreneurial development, the cottage industry, and the cottage industry must have to be sectoralized. One is IT. For example, Shaukatareen Sahab has given the example that India in 2002 it was a 10% and then a $10 billion, and now it is $100 billion. It was a wonderful jump. So why not in Pakistan? In this pandemic, Pakistan comes up in a way in a 50%. So this is the most potential part here, or the bad part in the public sector. Some sort of reforms could become like they have initiated Euro bonds, and the government has tried to create because they cannot easily deal with the bureaucracy or the bureaucratic structure, because most people are depending on they are not depending on their own will. They are not doing anything. They are not working in the industrialization. They are not working in the entrepreneurial development. They are dependent on the governmental salaries. Pensions and salaries, and they just come into the office and they are taken up the tea, coffee, and then go back to home, and they are just not efficiently work as Japanese, as Chinese. We are just giving the example of Chinese and Japanese, but we are not following the new development. Even in the Mao's era, after the Mao era, there was a development, a huge development come up by the Din Xiaoping. Then shopping open up the economy in a different way. So here in Pakistan, agriculture mechanization is much important. I told you the first part that the evolutionary agriculture mechanization is much better, but still we have to work very hard with Chinese. But the last government, the previous government have not done so much into good sector, but the few people worked them, and they have taken up the best edges, but not into this system. So hundreds and hundred organizations I have seen, but they're completely obsolete. I'm using the very important term that they are for the cutting edge technology. So they are for the supervisory of the private sector. For example, I have given you the PTAC example, I have given you the PCSIR example, I have given you many examples that they are for the industrial supervision. But if now that the land of is a trillion of the trillion rupees land, they acquire trillion of the rupees, they are spending money on the unions, they are spending money on the people, and they are producing none. So if they are not generating, 2 years back, the Abdul Razak Dawood and the Dr. Ishrat Hussain combined together, they have taken the initiative for the privatization of the institution. But yes, again, the pressure from the bureaucracy and the people who are attached with them, and the thin line. If you want to understand that there is the connections between the parties, because one of the GM was the son-in-law of some ministers, and one of the PNs is
Politics
also
aside,
relationship with the
Hasnain
other
Saab, what in your point of view, if I were to ask you, what in your point of view does the government need to come up with measures for further stability in its macro and microeconomic management in the next 12 months? What would that be? Very short and concise answer.
Macro, and shortly, there is another level, is meso level. What we need to understand is that we have to give the competitive price to the market. We have to focus on just 4 to 5 sectors initially, and then if we give the people a great hope that the price of the commodities will go very low in a very recent time. No, we cannot. We can maximize the inflation, go up to 7 to 8%. That's it. But the other bigger sector will increase, and small and medium enterprise will increase. And yes, IBPs and the competitive edge price or a competitive price will increase. If by this way, the documented economy will bring up the results, and our economy will grow up to 5% to 6%. And by I'm very much sure by 2023, if we negotiate in a better way to the IMF, then we might not go for the IMF in 2023.
All right. Well, we'll see that in 2023 when the time comes. Thank you very much, Hasnain and Javed Saab, to have joined us. And they have given us such a broad outlook of Pakistan's economic situation, past, present, and what we expect as far as Pakistan's economic future is concerned. Thank you very much, sir. And finally, Abdul Jaleel Saab, you've listened to what Hasnain and Javed had to say. And of course, there are different factors which are associated with Pakistan's economic stability in the past and the present. But there are a lot of expectations from the people as far as the future is concerned. As far as tomorrow's budget, for example, is concerned, a lot of people want it to be people-centric. Can the government walk this tightrope between what the people's expectations are from the budget and what the government needs to do in order to bring stability?
You know, the budget is being declared tomorrow. The people of Pakistan have a lot of aspiration this year as well, because they have suffered very badly due to inflation over the last 2 years. That's a fact as well. And the Prime Minister, the government have also admitted. And they have also decided now this time that in view of the now fast changing, fast growing economy, they are now in a position, in a very suitable position to provide some kind of a relief. And what I believe that the government is supposed to take these steps which I think they would prove more suitable and the best for promoting the national economy in the country, which will ensure a lot of prosperity to the country. Number one, the government must try to first upgrade the industrial, scientific and manufacturing and agriculture infrastructure of the country. And how it is possible? They must promote R&D, and R&D can be promoted with the help of Center of Excellence, which are being run under the supervision of HEC. The government must already committed lot of financial input with these Center of Excellence. But unfortunately, what is missing is the proper linkages, those transfer channels which could help in the development and upgradation of these industrial sector and agriculture sector, by utilizing the latest knowledge, by utilizing the knowledge product being created by the Center of Excellence. So this disconnect between the field organization, field commercial organization, industrialization and HEC and Center of Excellence should be removed, and we must set up a knowledge cottage which transmit knowledge, distribute knowledge and help them in upskilling the manpower so that they could come up with better performance. Number one. And number two is the social sector economy totally depends upon the cottage industry. Cottage industry should be provided special concessional regime in this respect. And in this respect, the banking sector should be mobilized to provide them concessional loan to them.
All right. Thank you very much, Abdul.
Thank
You have given us all the recommendations that you thought are very important and pertinent for Pakistan's economy to further stabilize. Pakistan's economy, ladies and gentlemen, has seen good days in the last 12 months. There have been certain indicators that have been quite positive. The GDP growth has seen an upsurge much more than what was expected by the institutions. What is expected from tomorrow's budget is, of course, something that we all are looking forward to. All eyes are on tomorrow's budget speech. What will happen? What kind of concessions will be given to the different sectors? How will the country move forward as far as the next 12 months are concerned? This is very important for a country like Pakistan, and of course we will be talking to you about the budgetary details when the budget is, of course, unveiled tomorrow. Till then, stay tuned to PTV World. It's Allah Hafiz from myself, Omar, Khalid, and my team of Newsroom.